Hello, just doing a quick video here. I got my transmission back in the 2001 Audi TT 225 horse. It's a 6-speed transmission at 0 to M. I've replaced a few transmissions before, Corvette, Honda Accord, Chevy Blazer, Mazda RX-7, and quite a few other ones. And those ones you just remove parts and then the transmission comes out and you replace parts and you put the transmission in. But this one's got a few pitfalls, so I just thought I'd make a little list of 35 items that are kind of a pain in the ass and that could kind of haunt you. So, to start off, when you're going to do the job, order parts. I got mine from Rock Auto. I got a clutch kit, rear main oil seal, oil pan gasket, the shift slider, which is this white thing right down there. Your Quattro seals, fluids, a couple new bottles of Loctite. You're going to use those, and flywheel and pressure plate bolts, hard mounted balancer bolts if you're going to do the timing belt. And also SE ARP has quite a few bolts kind of available for this. So you have to try and get some ARP bolts, as the Volkswagen bolts are only single use and they're very questionable. I'll show you later on that. Okay, so next thing I would do is, if you can, get all the guards off, like the belly pan and all the other guarding that surrounds the transmission, and the top covers as well, and just wash it. It's probably going to be filthy because it's been all kind of encapsulated for so long and be oil and shit all over it, so it's quite a filthy job, so best to get that clean. There's nowhere to really wash it, so if you can get those guards off, then you can get at it and clean it up. Not too bad. Then I take penetrating oil all over everything. Every bolt that's going to come off. So suspension bolts, I ended up breaking one, just a little sensor bolt that does the headlight leveling and stuff like that off that lower A-arm. But all these bolts and nuts and stuff are all kind of subject to corrosion, and so good to give them a quick spray just all over every freaking bolt you see. Just give it a spray like your lower A-arm bolts and the stabilizer bar, all that stuff. Okay, so once it's all cleaned up and oiled, jack the car up, then remove your negative battery post, and then remove your subframe. Because once you get that subframe out of the way, it opens up the whole job. There's things on the internet saying that you don't have to remove the subframe, but really, the battery box is probably more complex than the subframe. It's easy to take off, so basically to take it off, you stake all these 3 bolts down here for your lower control arm. Stake them so that you can line them back up once it goes back together. And then your sway bar nuts, those 2, one each side. Your string rack bolt, just 4 of those. Exhaust bracket, 2 bolts. And power steering line clip. And then wrap out your impact and wrap out your subframe bolts, and then it's out of there. Just slip it under the back of the car or wherever you want to put it, and then that kind of makes the whole procedure a lot more possible. You could try to sneak it by and all that stuff, but it's gonna be so much more work, and have to compromise some stuff when you do that. Things could bend or get hung up or whatever. Okay, yeah, so the battery box is like 5 pieces alone, so that just goes to show you how this job's going to go. It's just way overkill on engineering, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so one thing to watch for is when you separate the transmission from the engine, there's an intermediate plate, and that plate has to clip into the top and also dowel on 2 holes about midpoint or a little bit below midpoint. But you have to clip it in the top. That's something I didn't realize to do, because when I took it, transmission comes out, plate kind of flops off, and then you could see it if you know to look for it, but if you don't know to look for it, the plate will be there and could rub on the flywheel. So that's where the Bentley book saved me. Well, I don't have it here right now, but anyway, I bought the Bentley book online from eBay. It was like $70 the hardcover, and it is missing a few things. Like, it's missing the bolt that goes in the CV joint, the passenger side. Can't see right now, but that one hidden bolt. They need about a 22 centimeter extension to get out. It's the same as the driver's side. So of course you have to take the CV joint boot off, and to get the cup drive off, there's a bolt in there. I would leave the driver's side on. In the video I showed taking it apart, I took that flange off, but I would just leave it on. I didn't have to do that because I was trying to get it out with the subframe in, and that's not necessary. Just subframe out, and then all that shit can stay on. Okay, where did I get to my list here? Okay, I'm torquing the flywheel bolts. There's a, I can't see that either, but, oh yeah, there you can. I'll just grab a light so you can actually see what's going on. But there's I think it's a 19 mil nut on the front of the crankshaft. Right there, that guy there. So just put it on there, and then use a breaker bar, and that can sit on your strut, or hang up in your strut, and then the bolts will be able to tighten. Now, it's extremely hard to tighten. So when I put that on, I grab my 4 square. Okay, it's got the camera down here. Yeah, so if you use your original, or use the original Volkswagen bolts, they have to be brand new from Volkswagen. I'd never ever reuse these flywheel bolts. So difficult to tighten them. But anyways, yeah, so grind the tip of the triple square bolt driver down, because you're only going to get about maybe 3 millimeters of bite in there. So I have to make sure the driver goes in all the way. And on those bolts, like why I would use ARP is because these bolts, you torque them to around 40, I think it's 42 foot-pounds, plus 90 degrees or a quarter turn. And I did that, then I went over the bolts again with the torque wrench set at 90 pounds, just make sure they're all even and just see what the hell's going on. And none of them budged, it all clicked off at 90, no problem. So they must be up towards 100 foot-pounds per bolt, and you have a good 2.5 millimeters of grab on there. So it's actually pretty freaking dangerous. I'm surprised Volkswagen did that, or Audi, whatever. Because you're under the car, or even on a hoist for that matter. The tool's barely in the bolt head, and one slip end, there's a lot of force that's going to go flying. Anyways, that's that fun. And then I use a red Loctite. Usually when I put Loctite on, I put a dab on the front thread, so when the bolt thread's in, it covers. But on these ones, I bathe them in red Loctite, just swirl them around and put them in to make sure all Loctite possible is on those bolts. And red. Forget about blue and those babies, just get them in there. Okay, and this is why I am saying that. The original bolts came loose, and you can see the fretting that's taken place in my camera focus here. So the flywheel, or sorry, the crankshaft end was all fretted as well with some high spots. So I take a flat file and clean all that up. Just use this guy here. It's a standard flat file. But that's good, 20 minutes, half hour to clean that up, if you can, if it's only damaged that much. Otherwise, you have to pull the crankshaft out and have it machined true again. But luckily I had some brand new spots here. The crankshaft had its original machining face on it, so I just filed to that point and stopped. The positive battery cable holder, this guy here, can be hard to put in, so I just use one zip tie, and it's going to go in the garbage. It's just pretty silly. I'll get my list. Oh, I did the timing belt just previous to this job, and of course you use new harmonic balancer bolts when you do that as well. But anyway, here's the tensioner. There's a good video on that by a guy that pretends to be a army sergeant. It's pretty good. There's a water pump. Okay, so back on track here. Yeah, so the flywheel bolts, like a Honda 4-cylinder engine, comparable power, uses or torques 6 bolts to about 75 foot-pounds. And I see that the newer Audi TT, or the Mark II at least, with a 2.5 liter 5-cylinder uses 8 bolts instead of just 6. So they obviously, already learned from this and has improved it. Okay, so my clutch kit came with an alignment tool from Luck Clutch, Yeah, it comes with this alignment tool. But basically, you don't use it because there's no pilot bearing. So the transmission shaft diameter is this diameter the whole way through, and it stops right there. So this tool doesn't work. So you just take your disc, and this would go into the disc, and then this. So you basically just don't use that tool at all. Pop that out. You can go in your toolbox for later, and you just line it up. So it'll be on the car. Say, you know, it's your pressure plate. You reach through your outside your pressure plate. Just feel the bearing, or sorry, the crankshaft ridge, and then step back and eyeball it and get it straight, and then that'll be good. That's as lined as it needs to be, and it's probably better than the tool anyway. Okay, so once you have the new transmission seal in, you put your slave cylinder on with your throw bearing. It's all one piece. And then I used some clear hose, and I primed the slave cylinder, and I pushed the throw bearing in and out a few times. So here's the old one. So yeah, this would be out of the car. It looks like this. Had a clear line here with fluid in it, and I squeezed this in and out a few times. Squeeze. And then you get some white stuff come out. It looks like white grease or something for assembly, and all the air bubbles too. And then when you put this back in, the pressure plate will squeeze this down anyway. So, but still you have a good solid column of oil basically in your slave cylinder, so that it's that much easier to bleed. Once I had that done and the lines were back on, I pumped the clutch pedal quickly about 10 times, and then got it to take, and then I used my simple vacuum pump to basically bring the fluid through and start bleeding it. And then once that was bled and I had the car running and stuff like that, still up on stands, I got my son to pump it up 10 times quick. I just cracked the, I'll show you, but you probably can't see it. Cracked the bleeder screw out there. You can't see it. I don't believe it. Yeah, so you just crack the bleeder screw, you know, after you pump it up a few times with the pedal held down. I did that 3 times, and the clutch is great. It's right at the top, very solid, better than it was before actually. So that worked out well. To take off these shift cables, don't pry this off. I pried mine off, and luckily it didn't break. It's gone back in. So far so good. But all you have to do is release this spring here. So you just pull this back. I just set these, so I'm not going to pull it back, but you just pull that back, and then it just unleashes the 3 prongs, and this cable slides right out. So just do that. Don't pry off this. Apparently they can break, but luckily mine just clicks back on, and it's holding there no problem. So for holding the clutch bleeder in, let's see if we can find that again. There it is. I just used, I lost those 2 clips. I lost one, and then I was careful to not lose the other one, and then I lost the other one. It's probably stuck in my creeper wheel or something, but it's not going to focus. Come on, focus. There we go. So I just used a paper clip, and I suggest that even if you have your original ones, to throw them in the garbage and grab a paper clip. Just a little guy like this, you know, buy 100 of them or 50 of them for $1 at Walmart. And all you do is take it. Okay, so you just take your paper clip, bend it out, get it semi-straight, and you have to put a bit of a hook into it, the front part of it. Get it a bit of bend on there, if you can, and then just slip it through the bleeder tube type thing, and the paper clip slips nicely through there, just like that. And then I took it, pulled it through with some needle nose pliers on the other side. Of course, there's about 6 inches of room there, but it's about 2 millimeters away from the transmission case, but still. Got some needle nose in there, and then bent that around, and then used the other end of the paper clip and shoved it in the bottom, and then bent that around. So I'm sure it locks it in better than the factory one. It's much better quality metal than the factory clips. So huck the originals in the garbage and use this. I see that ECS has makes the bleeder tube as well. So it just goes to show you that the original one's not that good. If people will pay double for a better one. Okay, so when I had the transmission, I popped the oil pan down, and it's surprisingly easy to get. Oh, let's see if we can see it. There's nothing in the way, which is a miracle. So yeah, there it is there. Just took a 3/8 impact and zipped out all the bolts, and then checked the suction bell, make sure it was clear, and also cleaned out the pan and put in proper rubber gasket in there. I don't know if it's normal or what, but this one didn't have a gasket in it. It was just in there with some sort of sealant. So put that in there, and then there's quite a bit of varnish in there. So I definitely, this car is kind of new to me, so I'm just definitely gonna keep the oil changes, shorten the interval a bit to kind of keep the varnish down. As the oil runs for a while, the additive packs break down and they don't have the detergents and stuff to keep the varnish off or whatever it takes. To take the transmission out and also put it in, I just used that ATV jack. It worked great. I had to put a couple blocks under it to get the full height. And then once it was in there, it went in nicely, nice and straight. I started, got the transmission kind of started towards the front of the car, or front of the engine. Let's see now. Down on this side here, troublesome light. Yes, I got that side started, and then kind of on an angle, then worked it flat, and then went around back and grabbed the quattro drive, got it started, and moved in a bit further. Got the quattro drive in further yet, and then got underneath the car. Kind of grabbed it. And started rocking it back and forth and working it in, and all of a sudden those clunk in, and then there you go, and then start a bolt. I started a top bolt. The bottom bolts are on the oil pan, aluminum oil pan, so I wouldn't want it to kind of hang on those to probably break the pan. So started a top bolt into the block. Well, one good hint on from the Bentley manual was to undo the exhaust coupler. That guy right there. Slip joint undone, the engine can rotate. It has to rotate quite a bit, so you risk damaging your exhaust if you don't undo that. Mine was pretty seized, so definitely spray that with penetrating oil right away, those two bolts there, or else you might have to break them off and replace them. While I was putting the transmission back in, a couple of connectors broke on me. This one didn't, but for instance, like there's a connector similar to that on the power steering, and also the reverse. I don't know if you can see that one. It's down there somewhere anyway. I can see it, but I don't know if it'll be picked up. Anyway, one of the connectors broke, and then so all I did in those two connectors, I just cleaned them with brake clean, and then wiped them with a rag, make sure the surfaces are all clean, and then I use silicone just on one side, and then with that silicone, it'll kind of hold the connector together, and then it'll kind of stay in place. When I had the transmission out, I took out the ATAC tube. I just want to check the hoses underneath and all that, and give me a bit more room, but you could have left that in. Definitely spray out the cooler when you have a chance. Washout's present, never been washed, it's new. So that wasn't too bad. It's just 3 bolts on each side, and then of course the tube itself, just shove the rubbers in towards the inner, and then the tube will drop out. So I was buying the fluids. I tried to go on the forums and chats and all that stuff, but there's such a big argument on there, I didn't know which one to buy. So I just went to Napa and tried to buy some Pentozin power steering fluid. But Napa was selling for $40, so I went to Volkswagen, and they're selling the exact same liter of VW fluid for $30. So I just went to the dealer and bought it, and I bought Volkswagen brake fluid as well. I used Lucas in the transmission, 7590. It's about $13 a bottle, and put about 2.5 liters in, so I have to buy about 3 bottles. I had to top up the brakes a bit, so I just got some Prestone Dot 4, but should be okay, as long as it's all the same stuff. It's all compatible anyway. So when the transmission is back in, before I get too excited, I took it for a quick test drive, and then I brought it back in, and I'm just gonna set the transmission shift cable. So you would basically just take off your shift knob, the boot, just with torque screws, and then you take a drill bit. I think I read 5mm, but it's actually about a 4. Anyway, whatever fits in there. Fit into that hole and that hole at the same time. This is after you've unclipped your cables, showed before with those 2 springs. So just unclip your 2 cables, the 2 springs anyway. Pull them back, and then the cables are free to move. And then you pin in. There's a good video on YouTube on this. I'll put the link in below if I remember. And you just put this little pin there in. That guy there. Oh, of course it goes out of focus when you get close. Anyway, that'll slip in. You might have to shove the shifter down a little bit. Let's see, where was it? Oh, I've got it in gear right now, but anyway. Yeah, this way. So it'll slip. Yeah, this way here. So it'll slip down a little bit. And then once that's pinned and you pin your shifter, you pull the tension out of the cables by pulling them like that. You push that forward and pull that back. And then just turn this a quarter turn, it pops right back, and it's locked in. You're good to go. The Holdex and rear differential oils, because gone this far, I don't want to run low on oil. I just end up crying. You know, do my tears surprise you, sir? Strong men also cry. But it's that type of a job. It's going to wore me quite a bit. Pretty difficult to do, but in hindsight, I would definitely do it again if something went wrong. It's not that bad. You don't really have to take it to a shop, but if you need the car, or you have to rent a car, or take cabs, buses, all that stuff, then I probably would take it to a shop, because it will take a few days anyway. So now I have to put on the guards again, and that alone will take a good part of an hour easily, I should say. So you have to jack it up, tires off, guards on. This is after I check for leaks and stuff, so it just takes time, and it's pretty interesting, but definitely a few pitfalls if you kind of miss a step, or don't clip in your intermediate plate, or don't know about the bolt and the passenger side CV, use incorrect oils or what have you, who knows what. It can be a big trouble. Also, torquing those 5/0 bolts. I'd never guessed that they went to 100 foot-pounds. You know, it's a 10mm bolt, so it should be torqued to 40 foot-pounds. So if you say you put it to 60, thinking you're good, you're still 40 pounds short. So a few tricks to this job, and can be a pain in the ass, but it is also doable too. You can save the labor and just buy the parts. Okay, so I hope this helps. I'll try to edit it out as best I can so it's not 5 hours long, but it's just such an involved job for just a simple transmission. And then a new clutch and flywheel. Okay, have a great day. Bye-bye. Rear main seal is a good part. It's got a proper cast aluminum housing. So definitely put that on at the same time. Also the transmission seal. That guy there. And there's the old clutch disc here. For the amount of kilometers on it, it's not that worn out. It is worn down on the edges there, but the new clutch disc did not have that much more material on it than this. And that's actually pretty good. There's the old pressure plate, bit of bluing and stuff, so obviously saw some heat, but no actual problems. Still had lots of pressure, nothing slipping or anything like that. Yeah.